Beloved friends, the heart is not bound by chance, nor is love dictated by mere circumstance. Love answers only to the law of imagination, for what we accept within as true must unfold without. Imagination is the true foundation, for everything we see in this outer world has its root in the unseen. The clothes we wear, the homes we live in, the relationships we experience, all were first conceived within the invisible realm of mind before they took on shape and form. The world of appearance is but a shadow, a reflection of what was once imagined. To assume something within consciousness is to plant a seed, and every seed contains within it the certainty of its own harvest. What you dare to accept inwardly as true will, in time, be revealed outwardly in the life you call reality, when you assume you do not merely wish or hope. Assumption carries with it a quiet certainty, an inner knowing that what is unseen is more real than what is presently seen. The outer world bends and reshapes itself to the invisible impressions carried in imagination. If you accept that you are loved, chosen, and cherished, then all the actions, words, and gestures of others must eventually conform to that inner truth. Imagination is not a weak daydream, it is the very substance of creation, the blueprint upon which life builds. Consider the difference between longing for love and assuming love as already yours. Longing creates distance, for it admits lack. Assumption draws it near, for it claims possession. When you stand in imagination and declare within yourself that their heart only beats for you, you shift the entire arrangement of your inner world. In that moment, you no longer live as one seeking affection, but as one who already holds it. This shift in state changes the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you see yourself, and life must respond in kind. It is not your task to force another's heart or to manipulate their actions. Your only task is to accept within yourself the image, the feeling, the reality of being the one they love beyond all others. Imagination does not ask how it will unfold. It simply rests in the end, confident that the outer must mirror the inner. The moment you assume their devotion as fact, you begin to embody the energy of the beloved, and this embodiment calls forth circumstances that make your assumption visible. We often believe that what we see around us is unchangeable, but the truth is that appearances are only delayed reflections of past assumptions. If you see indifference, it is but an echo of a state once entertained within. Do not give your faith to the echo, give it to the seed you are now planting. Imagination is the true foundation, and by dwelling in the assumption of being loved, you lay down a new foundation for future experience. The key lies not in force but in feeling. To feel as though their heart is already yours is to align with the truth of creation. Feeling carries the conviction that imagination alone can set into motion. Words without feeling remain empty, but when you charge your inner vision with emotion, when you feel the warmth of their affection, the security of their devotion, then you are clothing the invisible with life. This feeling becomes the unseen reality, and life has no choice but to reproduce it in the visible. Persist in this inner state, no matter what the outer world may whisper. Do not be deceived by delays or appearances, for the seed takes time to break through the soil. Trust that once you have assumed it within, the harvest is inevitable. Every beat of your heart, every breath you take while dwelling in this assumption strengthens the foundation. You are not waiting for their heart to turn toward you, you are accepting that it already beats for you. And in that acceptance, imagination, the true foundation of all things, will show its power by bringing into view the love you have already claimed within. To live in the end is to move beyond desire and longing, into the rich feeling of fulfillment, as though everything you seek has already been granted. Desire by itself can easily trap you in a state of lack, where you are constantly reminded of what you do not have. But when you dare to feel that your desire is already realized, when you clothe yourself in the emotion of its completion, you rise above the struggle of waiting and step directly into possession. Living in the end means to inhabit the state where their love and devotion are no longer questions, no longer hopes, but present realities that define who you are and how you move in the world. When you desire their love, you admit that it is absent. Every thought of wanting reinforces the gap between you and what you seek. But when you live in the end, you bypass that gap and take on the identity of the one who is already adored. You walk differently, you speak differently, and your inner conversations change. Instead of asking, will they love me? Do they care? Your inner voice calmly affirms, I am the one they love, I am their chosen, I am their home. This subtle but powerful shift in state calls forth evidence from the outer world that aligns with what you already feel within. To live in the end is not about pretending or lying to yourself. It is about aligning with the deeper truth that the unseen is the origin of all that is seen. The outer world is only a reflection, a shadow of inner assumption. If you insist on looking to the shadow for reassurance, you will always feel uncertain, for shadows change with the light. But when you hold steady in the feeling that the end is already accomplished, you no longer need proof. You carry your proof within, in the certainty of your inner experience. And because life must echo what you persistently accept, the outer will eventually bow to the inner. Living in the end is the secret of mastery. It is the art of moving beyond appearances and entering into the reality you wish to experience as though it were already here. When you lie down at night, instead of replaying the lack of affection or the silence of their absence, close your eyes and dwell in the scene of fulfillment. See yourself embraced by their love. Hear the words of devotion spoken to you. Feel the warmth of being cherished. Let it be so real that your body responds with the calm certainty of one who is no longer waiting. In those moments, you are rehearsing not for the future, but for the present reality of your inner world, which will inevitably harden into fact. This is not daydreaming, because daydreaming often lacks conviction. Living in the end demands that you feel as if it is happening now. The mind cannot distinguish between an experience vividly imagined and one physically lived. When you consistently feed your mind and heart with the feeling of being loved, chosen, and valued, you train your entire being to expect it. That expectation creates alignment, and alignment draws the outer world into harmony with your inner assumption. The challenge lies in persistence. The senses may scream otherwise, showing you indifference or absence. But appearances are not the truth. They are only the remnants of old states, past assumptions still echoing. Living in the end requires that you remain unmoved by these echoes, that you hold to your new state with unwavering faith. Each time you are tempted to fall back into longing or doubt, gently return to the end, reminding yourself that in imagination it is already done. As you continue to live from the end, the shift becomes natural. What once felt like imagination becomes your identity. You stop searching for love and instead radiate the confidence of one who is loved beyond measure. This confidence alters your energy, your presence, your magnetism. Without effort, you begin to embody the very reality you assumed, and others cannot help but respond to it. The end you have lived inwardly becomes the life you live outwardly, for life is compelled to reflect the truth you have already dared to claim as your own. Inner conviction creates outer evidence, for the world you experience is but a mirror reflecting the state you persist in within yourself. To hold the conviction of being loved is to build an unshakable foundation upon which life must eventually arrange itself. It is not the fleeting thought that holds power, but the deep, consistent assumption carried in feeling. When you dwell inwardly in the certainty that you are cherished, the world outside must conform to that belief. This is not because others are forced, but because your inner state silently dictates the circumstances that unfold around you. Conviction is not loud, nor does it beg for reassurance. It is a quiet knowing, a steady current that does not waver even when appearances contradict it. When you dwell in the state of being loved, you do not measure by words spoken today or actions taken yesterday. You measure only by the truth you have accepted within yourself. The outer world may delay in showing evidence, but it cannot resist the force of sustained conviction. Life bends to the inner atmosphere you carry, and when your atmosphere is filled with the certainty of love, devotion, and belonging, it calls forth people, events, and situations to match it. The reason conviction produces results is that the outer is powerless on its own. Everything seen is the offspring of the unseen. If you continue to nurture doubt within, you will meet doubt without. If you hold fast to faith within, you will meet faithfulness without. The stronger you dwell in the inner state, the less the world can resist. What was once unseen grows into visibility, just as a seed, hidden beneath soil, pushes its way into the light. The gardener does not doubt the seed after planting it, nor does he dig it up daily to check for progress. He knows the life of the plant is already contained within the seed. In the same way, your assumption of being loved already carries within it the life of its own fulfillment. It is not necessary to convince others, to argue, or to seek validation. All effort is wasted when directed outward, for the outer is only the reflection. Convince yourself inwardly, and the reflection must alter to match. The one who walks with conviction in love carries a presence that cannot be denied. Their energy shifts, their words carry authority, and their very being radiates certainty. Others respond without knowing why, drawn to the confidence that flows naturally from the inner state. To dwell in the state of being loved is to inhabit a reality that may not yet be visible but is already true. You no longer act as the one who waits, but as the one who has received. You move through life with the assurance that love is yours, that you are chosen, that their heart belongs to you. This assurance does not demand constant proof, it rests quietly in knowing. And because it rests, it allows the outer to catch up. There will always be moments when appearances seem to contradict your conviction. Perhaps you encounter silence, indifference, or delay, but those are only echoes of past states, not the truth of your current assumption. If you waver in such moments, you strengthen the echo. If you hold fast to conviction, the echo dissolves, replaced by evidence that aligns with your inner faith. Conviction does not bend to circumstance, it reshapes circumstance. The more you dwell in the feeling of being loved, the more natural it becomes. What begins as deliberate practice transforms into second nature. You no longer need to remind yourself to feel loved, you simply are loved in your awareness. This becomes your dwelling place, and from this dwelling place the world rearranges itself. People speak words you once only imagined, gestures of affection appear without effort, and situations align to confirm what you have long held within. Outer evidence is not a matter of chance, it is the inevitable response to inner conviction. Just as a reflection in the mirror cannot resist the expression on your face, the world cannot resist the state you embody. To persist in the conviction of being loved is to guarantee its outer demonstration. The stronger your inner certainty, the more complete and undeniable the evidence that follows. Feeling is the secret, for without feeling, imagination remains hollow and lifeless. It is feeling that gives reality to the unseen vision, clothing it with substance until it must take form in the outer world. You may picture yourself loved, cherished, and adored, but if the image is dry and void of emotion, it lacks the spark that compels creation. When you allow yourself to feel the warmth of devotion, the joy of being chosen, and the safety of being wanted, you infuse imagination with life. That inner vibration becomes the foundation upon which reality reshapes itself. Thoughts pass quickly and often carry little power unless they are joined with feeling. A single thought wrapped in emotion outweighs countless thoughts without it. When you feel something as real, you signal to your entire being that this is truth. The mind accepts it, the body responds, and the outer world begins to shift accordingly. Feeling cherished is not merely repeating the words, "I am loved." It is sinking into the experience of being loved until it feels natural, until the words are no longer necessary because the state itself has taken root within you. To feel adored is to practice embodying the reality of being someone's treasure. You imagine their gaze lingering on you with affection, their heart drawn irresistibly toward you, and you let yourself feel the delight of being that person. At first, this may feel like play, but with persistence, it becomes more than imagination. It becomes identity. Once the feeling of being adored settles into your identity, the world must mirror it. The actions of others, the words spoken to you, and the situations that unfold cannot help but confirm what you have already accepted emotionally. Emotion is the language of the subconscious. The subconscious does not respond to empty affirmations or logic. It responds to the vivid, living feelings that you entertain. When you impress upon it the sensation of being loved beyond measure, it accepts this as reality, and reality must then adjust. This is why simply wishing or hoping produces little change, but embodying the feeling of fulfillment brings about transformation. Wishing acknowledges lack, but feeling fulfillment announces possession. Persisting in these feelings is the art. At first, the old state may fight for attention, whispering doubts or reminding you of appearances that contradict what you are cultivating. Yet appearances are only delayed echoes. If you allow those echoes to stir emotion in you, you strengthen them. If instead you remain loyal to the new feeling, the feeling of being chosen, of being cherished, you weaken the old and empower the new. In time, the new feeling becomes natural and the old one dissolves completely. The more natural the feeling becomes, the less effort you need to sustain it. What once felt like imagination transforms into your normal state of being. You no longer practice feeling loved, you simply live as one who is loved. This shift changes your presence. Others sense it without explanation. Your energy communicates silently and the world responds accordingly. You attract gestures of love, expressions of care, and circumstances of devotion, not by force, but by the silent magnetism of the feeling you carry. To feel chosen is to rest in security, to know that you are the one above all others. It is not arrogance, but simple acceptance of love as yours. This acceptance radiates confidence and peace. When you move with such an inner atmosphere, people cannot help but treat you as though you are indeed chosen. The outer confirms the inner. Feeling has drawn the unseen into form. Feeling is the secret because it is the bridge between imagination and reality. Without it, images remain shadows in the mind. With it, they are charged with life and destined to appear. By consistently dwelling in the emotions of being cherished, adored, and chosen, you align yourself with that reality until it can no longer be denied. Persist beyond appearances, for what you see with your physical eyes is never the final word. The world of form is a delayed reflection, a shadow cast by thoughts and feelings once entertained. If you judge your desire by what is presently visible, you will be deceived into thinking it is impossible. Yet the unseen is always greater than the seen, and the unseen holds the power to reshape what is visible. To persist means to hold unwaveringly to your inner knowing, even when everything outside tempts you to abandon it. Circumstances are transient. What seems fixed today will crumble tomorrow, and what appears absent now can arrive in an instant. The outer world is clay, easily molded by the inner state. If you allow temporary appearances to dictate your belief, you will shift from state to state, never holding long enough to see the seed of imagination grow into its full harvest. But if you remain faithful to the inner vision, no matter how long the delay or how strong the contradiction, you guarantee its manifestation. Faithfulness to the unseen reality of love is the secret of endurance, and endurance produces results. To persist is not to fight or resist what you see, it is to quietly refuse to be moved by it. You acknowledge appearances for what they are, echoes of former assumptions, but you no longer give them authority. Instead, you rest in the conviction that love is already yours, that their devotion already belongs to you. When you hold to this unseen reality, appearances begin to lose their grip. They may flare up for a time, seeming louder and more stubborn than before, but this is only the old state dissolving. Your persistence ensures that it has no power to endure. The temptation to give in to doubt is strongest when appearances seem most convincing. You may see silence where you long for affection, distance where you desire closeness, indifference where you crave devotion. Yet all of these are surface-level illusions, reflections of past inner states. They do not define the truth of your current assumption unless you accept them. Persisting means choosing the unseen over the seen, the eternal over the temporary, the truth of love within over the echo of absence without. Persistence requires a kind of inner blindness, a refusal to be swayed by what contradicts your desire. You walk by the light of your inner world, not by the shadows of the outer. Each time you feel the pull of discouragement, you return to your inner vision. You replay the scene of being loved, you reignite the feeling of devotion, you dwell in the satisfaction of fulfillment. In this way, you starve appearances of your emotional energy and feed only the reality you have chosen. Remaining faithful is an act of quiet strength. It is not about effort or strain, but about consistency. You decide once and for all that you are loved, and you hold that decision even when everything outside seems to oppose it. This is the difference between those who waver and those who succeed. The wavering soul allows every change of circumstance to shake their faith, but the faithful one stands firm, knowing that appearances are temporary and powerless in the face of sustained inner conviction. As you persist, the unseen reality grows stronger within you. It becomes more real to you than the outer world. You feel loved even when you are alone. You feel cherished even when you hear silence. You feel chosen even when appearances suggest otherwise. This inner reality eventually overwhelms the outer, for the outer must conform to the dominant inner state. The longer you persist, the more inevitable the manifestation becomes. To persist beyond appearances is to trust the process of creation. Seeds do not sprout the moment they are planted, but the gardener does not despair. He knows that unseen growth is taking place beneath the soil, invisible yet unstoppable. So it is with your unseen reality of love. Though you may not yet see it, persistence ensures that it is forming, taking shape, and moving steadily toward visibility. By remaining faithful, you guarantee that what was once only imagined becomes the life you live. You are the operant power, the one who sets the course of your experience by the state you occupy within. Nothing in your world holds authority over you unless you grant it power through your acceptance. To believe circumstances control you is to forget the source, for every circumstance is born of a state once entertained. You do not change the world by struggling with it or forcing others into action. You change it by shifting your inner state, by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled until the world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. The mistake many make is to think others must be persuaded, manipulated, or convinced in order for love to manifest. But the heart of another is not won by effort of the outer kind. It responds to the vibration you carry within. When you dwell in the state of being loved, when you feel chosen and cherished, your presence communicates silently. Without a word, without effort, others begin to reflect what you have already accepted as true. They are not acting independently of you, they are acting in harmony with the state you project. To recognize yourself as the operant power is to take full responsibility for your reality. This does not mean blaming yourself for what you dislike, but understanding that nothing is fixed until you claim it inwardly. You cannot hold a state of rejection and expect devotion. You cannot dwell in doubt and expect certainty. But the moment you shift to the state of being adored, the outer must align. You are not waiting on them to change, you are deciding who you are in relation to them. Once that decision is made and consistently felt, the world reorganizes itself to confirm it. This power is quiet and effortless. It does not strive or plead. It does not demand constant action. Instead, it rests in inner authority, knowing that assumption is causation. Every scene played in imagination is a command, and every feeling accepted is a decree. To assume being loved is to set in motion a chain of events that bring this truth into visibility. To resist appearances and persist in assumption is to anchor yourself in the truth of your power. The outer may resist for a time, but it cannot resist forever, for it is only a reflection. Others are not puppets, yet they cannot help but reflect the state you most consistently embody. This is the mystery of creation. You need not concern yourself with how it unfolds, for the how belongs to the unseen intelligence of life. Your only work is to occupy the state of fulfillment, to feel now what you desire as though it is already yours. This shifts your energy, alters your presence, and sets in motion unseen currents that arrange the outer world in perfect harmony. When you truly grasp that you are the operant power, you stop searching for signs and proofs. You no longer chase after love or beg for affection. You stand in the dignity of your inner authority, knowing that the evidence will come because you have planted the seed. Just as the gardener does not dig up the soil to check on the seed, You no longer question whether your assumption is working. You trust that the unseen work is being done because the state you occupy guarantees its result. The outer world has no choice but to echo your dominant state. If you persist in lack, lack is mirrored. If you persist in fulfillment, fulfillment is mirrored. This is the law, unfailing and impersonal. To operate from this truth is to step into freedom. No longer are you at the mercy of circumstance or the whims of another. You are the source. You hold the key. By shifting within, you move the entire world without. To know yourself as the operant power is to claim your birthright as creator of your experience. Love is not won by chance or struggle. It is accepted within and then revealed without. The moment you embody the inner state of being loved, the world must reflect it. Others cannot help but play their part, for they are compelled by the unseen authority of your assumption. You are the operant power, and nothing can oppose the reality you faithfully dwell in. In the end, all power lies within you. To act like their heart only beats for you is not to wait, to chase, or to beg. It is to stand in the quiet certainty of your imagination, to live in the end, to feel loved, to persist beyond appearances, and to remember always that you are the operant power. When you dwell in the state of being cherished, adored, and chosen, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Love is not something you seek outside, it is something you embody within, and from that embodiment, it flows into every corner of your life. Hold fast to this truth, remain faithful to the unseen, and the love you claim inwardly will become the love you live outwardly.